Yeah,
And there's the Invoker.
pick does come out after, and as you said, for the Lich, that shard pickup, for the longest time, that's part of the reason why you didn't pick Lich, because you have like two things that you can do in a fight, and then you're just kind of done. Then you're just kind of sitting there playing cheerleader for the rest of your squad, but now he has so much more he can contribute in terms of utility in these fights. So nice to see the Lich. We will see, as you said, what B9 can actually do with it, how well he can punish some of these heroes, because outside of the Timber, they don't have the tankiest of lineups. The TA, though, does kind of help out. That gives them a hero that can do some damage and won't be as easily taken down. But well, the last time we saw the TA, it wasn't massively successful on that front. So got their work cut out for them with that pick. And, well, I was going to say before, it's probably going to be a carry, but ET, that is KXY in the mid lane for them, and he has done that mid TA in the past, even in times when maybe it wasn't the smartest move to do. So if you're DogChamp, maybe you still have to sort of keep that in mind, or do you think they should just assume it's going to be the carry?
I think they should just assume it's the carry, and we should probably see, I think, a few respect bans. I think Lena and TA are very similar heroes, or rather, they play very similarly, so we might not see them go for the ban out here from DogChamp, but I feel like that's where we also might see that TA versus Primal Beast lane yet again here. I think big difference, though, is that you have a CM instead of the Clockwork. You can just Frostbite him and walk away anytime that trample is committed, so that makes that Primal lane feel, I think, even better for SG, and we did see, you are not the highest armor hero on the Primal Beast. Until you get your phase boots, those melt strikes do a lot of damage, and they do hurt quite a bit. Not to mention, when you are trampling on top of somebody and you are really getting up in their face, you end up tanking quite a lot of creeps. I feel like that's where we might need to see a little bit more of a patient Primal Beast coming out from Italiano Gangster, even though he's right up there with speed. He's a little bit of a maniac. He can do some pretty wild stuff on that hero, but that's also where if DogChamp do want to switch it up, I think, unfortunately, though, at this point, if they do make it a Yarn Ursa and then an Italiano Gangster Primal Beast, that lane sounds trash versus TACM. So they might be forced into the Stonebank Ursa just cuz. And hey, they get Ursa versus Timbersaw, which, that's a fine lane. That's a fine matchup that you should be able to get quite a lot done in. But I feel like that's where right now they shouldn't change things up. They should probably just pick up a support here, even though they banned out two offlaners from SG, which, okay, could make some sense, but then what are they saying? It's going to be a Primal Beast 4. I guess it would just be a Primal Beast 4, and then they switch Italian Gangster to a new offlane. If they wanted to do that, there is still Death Prophet in the pool if they want to just completely change things up, and that does round them out pretty nicely, but we'll have to see, DogChamp. Show us what you got. 5 seconds.
Yeah, time's run out a little, so whatever the pick's gonna be, it's gonna have to come in fast. Okay. Keep it simple. Take the DP. Why not? Not a crazy amount that's going to really put her in much danger. I think SG do have some burst potential, but if they're using all of it ET onto the Death Prophet, then Ursa and Invoker kind of have free reign to go in as they please.
Yeah, and that's a pretty obnoxious lane for TA. You just are outranged, you're outdamaged until you get more points up in refraction. And speaking of refraction, well, Siphon kind of just wins, but it's a nice change up, I think, for DogChamp, even though they do have to now sit and lie, and they probably will get counterpicked maybe a little bit here in regards to that Ursa pick earlier on, but that's where I also feel like they're pretty happy with the way things are. SG have two different ways they can go with their mid lane now, though. They have the Invoker, or they see the Invoker, so either say, well, we pick up Lena and then we just play with you at arm's length at all time, or we pick an Initiator and then we just hope that you're not going to get too shut out by the Invoker. Unfortunately, this is a case where you'd love to pick a hero like the Ember Spirit, but you just simply can't, because you can't play Ember versus Invoker. It's just too difficult of a lane. So you look at those other heroes that are more likely just draws that you're going to be looking for KXY.
It's unfortunate, right? Talking about KXY and then putting that limitation on him where he doesn't have a matchup that he might just be able to dominate is kind of unfortunate, because his playstyle in the past has been often a little bit more aggressive than maybe some of his counterparts here, as they do go for the Pudge pick, and that is going to prompt a switch up. The Pudge will be presumably at the 1, while KXY will take the TA. So I did mention before, he has a little bit of a penchant to take the TA mid. It's not always the best choice, but I think they feel more comfortable with TA mid and Pudge at the carry, and I kind of agree.
Yeah, and it is a pretty fearsome lane now that you're gonna have to mess with, and I think it is just rotating out the TA after getting counterpicked by the Death Prophet that maybe the TA doesn't want to have to deal with that situation, even though I do think Prada CM should be able to shut down anything the Primal Beast wants to do, but I think Yuma's gonna have fun, and I think this is a very Yuma hero. I think Yuma's a funny carry player because he really is just two different sides of the same coin. You're either going to be the Ultra Farmer who's playing TA Medusa TB the entire patch, or you're this side of Yuma that plays Morph, he plays Magnus, he plays Pudge, and I think getting both sides utilized in any tournament is something that every team kind of has to adjust to, because I'm pretty sure, and we haven't ever talked to Yuma, I don't think, but I feel like Yuma just says yes to anything. He is just willing to play pretty much any hero in Dota, which is always nice to see from your carry. And he does have to kind of step up now because he is more of that playmaker carry role. It's where you do have a mid TA. The rest of your lineup is pretty much hard farmers as well. So a lot of those team fights are going to fall at the feet of him.
He's got a fair bit of games there on the Pudge, all things considered. So, as you said, he's just kind of up for anything because he plays so many heroes. Maybe not always when we get into the actual pro matches, but when he's practicing, when he's just sort of playing pubs himself, he's played a wide range of heroes. So, well, we'll see what the Pudge can do. See whether this last second switch up pays off for them or not, as we are getting this first game underway. SG, well, they just went for the 5-man smoke and broke their way towards mid, so yeah. Is this an aggressive play? Is this just a ward play? It's at least a ward play. Into the hook?
Oh!
Okay. RCY, hello, and goodbye. That's perfect. That's the exact play that you hope for at the start of every game. It does now mean, though, so they set up the first ward to get the vision for the hook, and then they also threw a second ward up here in the eye spot, so that's a little awkward. But hey, it got you first blood into your mid laner's hands.
Yeah, and it is funny to see them just immediately run away from their ward as well, because they could have all sat there and right-clicked it to death as a team, but maybe they're assuming that DogChamp just say, oh, it's probably just on their side, we'll deward it on the left side. It'll eventually get dewarded, but no, that is a pretty nice way to start it off, and very patiently as well gave it to KXY, who, did he just buy a full Wraith Band? Yeah. Well, even more base damage now to work with when it comes to
Wow.
that Invoker lane, which is going to set himself up pretty nicely. It's either that or you set yourself up where if you get every single last in the first creep wave, you get your bottle. Neither are bad options, but the base damage is certainly a little bit more reliable.
I think if that kill had been on someone who wasn't the Invoker, maybe he just goes for the bottle instead, but considering it was your direct lane opponent that you put under, going for the Wraith Band means that you can kind of bully harder at the start. So, very nice play there from SG, and yes, technically, the downside is that Yuma ends up with Meat Hook level 1 in the lane, but the way we've been seeing these carry Pudges play, kind of end up going for the Meat Hook at level 1 anyway in a lot of scenarios, so now you have the combo to work with. If the Frostbite hits, the hook can pull him back. Maybe you get someone under your tier 1 tower in this lane and sort of keep that momentum going as, DC out from KXY. So they were dealing with, I guess, some lag issues earlier on and escalated into trying to reconnect or just the reboot.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, this is par for the course, though. We know this. NA versus even slight SA matchups, there's gonna be lag. There's gonna be some spikes. At least half the players here are playing with more than 100 ping. So, whatever goes, goes. Even though, in typical SA fashion as well, though, they make it look like they're not playing on ping at all, which makes them even scarier.
Why, well, we have the moment to talk about it. It's those SA teams heading over to Singapore, right? Everybody's always discounting the SA teams, but all of a sudden you're going to start playing against them on LAN with no ping disadvantage, and I think some of those squads are going to be surprised at just how well the SA teams play. Although, in fairness, ET, I think you and I both are now firmly on the sort of SA fanboy bandwagon, so, take what we say with a grain of salt, but
Oh, for sure. I mean, And you also had that one case where at the Arlington Major, you had the boys, you had Thunder Awaken show up, and then you're like, oh well, they don't have Dark Mago though. And even though Alone is a fantastic stand-in, I mean, any team would drop anybody to get, your 10.5 MMR 17-year-old player,
Yeah.
but it ain't Dark Mago. Alone's not getting respect bans. Three of his, 7 heroes banned out in the first phase. I feel like that's the team that always surprises everybody with how well they play. Because you literally just have to play Dota differently versus them. It's one of those, like, true exceptions to the game where they just do one thing so well, and one player does something so well that you just have to be terrified of him. Never conforming.
See them at full strength. Going to be nice. In the meantime, speaking of full strength, SG got everybody back into the server. So, if you're sick of us ranting and raving about the SA boys, we can get back into, you know, talking about some Dota here. Although this is always the problem with these initial pauses. Very little to talk about other than hypotheticals. But the lanes are getting underway. We shall see. I want to keep an IET on this top lane because the amount of coordination that has to happen between LTH and Oscar, I took the positive side of it, and maybe they can put down extra trees for Oscar to do more. You were on the other side of Oscar might mess up the combo. Both are equally possible, so they've got to be communicating pretty damn well, otherwise they're going to step on each other's toes here. As this time we have lag on the other side, so the DCs are spreading.
Yeah, and we'll have to see because again, RCY, he's the one that got killed. He's the one that has to play versus the 500 gold advantage that KXY is able to nab up. But yeah, back in the top lane though, I think it's a pretty annoying lane for Stonebank early on. It's where simply level 1 Furious Wipes doesn't do enough damage, and you're going to have to be carried by Bloody 9 a good bit here, at least with the Frost Blast spam, hopefully. And I think he does have enough mangoes to really kind of supply it, but so one thing you always have to be very careful about when it comes to Lich is Frost Blast is always a 7-second cooldown. He always has another one as long as the mangoes are pumped into him. You have to be very cautious playing in between, especially the waves here, because B9 will just sit there and do this over and over again. Unfortunately, he's got to go realize that a small camp is blocked pretty soon, but this is exactly what he kind of wants to do here.
Being annoying, but over on the other side, okay. There's that combo we were talking about during the pause, right? Frostbite, hook. I'm not even sure if that was all the way under the tower, but it doesn't really matter. They take Yaron down, and that's back-to-back kills to open up the game for SG.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because usually you don't see the Frostbite level 1. It's always the Crystal Nova just so you can make that two-way trade happen, but it's where they just get that easy punish instead, and yeah, it doesn't greed out either. Now you've got both spells on the CM. Also struck before the trample was even online, because even if you are a support, you always have to take that upper level 1, more or less.
Right. Can't really afford to do anything without it. You don't take the trades the same way, so he's actually still not level 2 yet. That's a bit of a bummer for him, but it's a nice little edge for SG Esports in the early going. Meanwhile, back up top, yeah, this is the problem for B9. He can spam out the Frost Blast all day, but if LTH can avoid the damage, he hits pretty damn hard himself, and the Lich gets clipped by the Acorn there, and you don't have the greatest amount of actual health regen for Bloody 9 here, so gotta play cautiously on those support trades.
No, definitely do. It's where the lane being so far up is a little bit of a risk here, but I feel like that's also where Stonebank is setting himself up to just walk over to that secret shop and then buy the Ring of Health, and then it makes a little bit of sense why this lane is so far forward.
He is closing in on that, so shouldn't take him too much longer, but then he does still have to make the walk without Oscar actually spotting him, because the Timber can hit you up a little bit, but should be able to manage. In the meantime, ET, what should we really expect from this middle lane? KXY, as he is sort of want to do, is playing far forward here. Is this a lane where he can get away with playing up and trying to sort of pressure RCY?
100%. And you even see it reflected in RCY's build where he has to go for Quasi-Exort Invoker, otherwise everything is just going to get denied. It's not easy stuff. It's a very difficult lane to play in. Even just getting his ward dewarded immediately as well. It's not fun.
As long as he doesn't go down again. Actually, you know what? I was going to say he should be fine, but taking a look at the last hit discrepancy starting to widen out a little bit here, I'm not sure if that statement really holds true anymore. He does have to try and find something. As speaking of finding something, down bot, Yaren gonna get himself picked off again. Italiano Gangster should be safe. The hook was used to go for that initial kill, and
He's got to freehand it if he wants it, but
creep wave. Oh, hold on. He got it. I thought Italiano Gangster was going to continue sort of walking over to the right. I think even Yuma thought that was going to be the case, but when he stops, he says, hey, you know, why the hell not? Let's try for it, and it gets him another kill.
no, it's pretty sick stuff. And now, unfortunately, you are a little bit tapped, but they even just are doing a good job of knowing when and how many siphons they can and force them out of the DP, because that's a free kill.
Spot. Staying right in the middle of the lane, though, so there was no timber chain possible, but they're really getting hit hard here, ET. They've given up 4 kills. Last hit-wise, it's kind of a struggle across maybe 2 of the lanes. I think Stonebank's still farming up just fine, but I don't think this is the setup that they were hoping for in the early stages, and part of the success that DogChamp have had in their previous wins in this event has come from the fact that they have gotten off to some pretty strong starts in the lanes across that first 20 to 25 minute span. If they fall behind early, it is going to be tough for them to immediately catch back up.
And look at this. Mid lane, they scanned out Yaren. Yaren spent a good minute here where KXY just sat on the other side of the high ground, not giving up anything. Free rotation as well, because the lane was so far forward that Italiano Gangster wasn't really under any threat, but another hook.
Got it. Gangster's going to get slowed now. They don't have... Yes, they do. Okay. The timing's actually worked out, so Italiano Gangster may still go down, but look at Yaren just fly through. There's going to be your onslaught. Even a level 1 trample is enough where these players have to back off. Prada... I don't think he should die here. He should be able to just turn around and get the root off and then walk, but he's not going to turn around. Need to.
They're so low. They want to dive so badly here.
Alright.
He's trying for it.
Well, now he is underneath the tower. This could get a little bit weird. Yuma's looking for him. Does he get the hook off? Yes, he does. Pulls him back in.
Oh, and he's behind him. Oh.
There's going to be the root, too. That's the worst possible place I think he could have been hooked into, and it's a 5th kill for SG. They might be looking for number 6 as well. There's the bushwhack as LTH rotates mid, and KXY seals the deal for the kill.
No, very clean, very good support rotations. It's just all kind of panning out for them. And every single time they leave their lanes, they're not making sure that their opponents are really in a bad spot. As Oscar just also stumbles into 2 bounty runes. Okay,
Yaren,
sure.
I don't know if you want to be here. He just TP'd mid and then pushed forward. Okay. He's able to use the onslaught to get out, but he lost a lot of health. But here comes the TP in from RCY. Can this turn into anything? Not with the delayed TP. Wow. Bit of extra time added on there, so he's not in as quickly as he wanted to be, and this is getting very strange. And as you said, Oscar... Oscar doesn't care. He's behind the tier 2 tower. There's only a Lich to stop him, and he can't stop him. B9 actually had to run away.
Yeah, and it is a lot of free farm that you are just giving to the Ursa. Ursa's not going to get pushed out from underneath his tower with his Ring of Health, but I feel like you're just kind of okay with all the way all 3 lanes have went so far. And even though there have been a lot of kills bottom on the DP, it feels like it doesn't matter too much. As Yaren gets his freebie, though. Boots Lyceum, yeah, that'll happen.
Threw the bushwhack out there in a spot where there just weren't any trees, didn't use the acorn, so Yaren gets away with it. And as you said, there's your freebie. That's their first kill of the game, so they finally get that 0 off the scoreboard. But now Yaren's not in this lane, and SG Esports are going to figure that out pretty quickly. Italiano is going to have to sort of take a step or 2 back here, but he's playing cautiously, right? He's going to be presumably fine unless they just hook him out from under his tower, but I don't think they have the angle to do that right now.
With Yuma being 6, though, you do have to be very cautious here. And, oh, again, Bushwhack was off the mark bottom, just didn't land. Ended up being a little bit of an awkward situation. But now that Exo's online, this is where you can really start to see your lineup get a little bit more effective. And that's why they're bringing B9 down here. They know nothing's going on in the Ursa lane. Time to get active.
See if they can take a fight, see if they can push the tower. Do they have... Oh, they already lost their cart. That's a bit unfortunate, but Could still try to make something happen here as you see Yarn pushing his way forward. Gotta be careful that he doesn't get too far, though, because he just lost his Obs Ward and Prada just TP'd in. There's gonna be the root. Oh. Whoops. That's so unfortunate. You have one step in, man. One step in and you have a play, but well, you know, even the pros misjudge their angle sometimes. Not gonna misjudge that one though. He gets off the hook into the dismember. Yarn's still not dead yet. There we go. They will be able to finally take him down. But Italiano Gangster pops the ult. He's in, but so is Oscar. Look at the damage, just sort of surging his way forward. I think Yuma still dies here, but they're going to try and make this a more valuable trade-off. They need Bloody Nine first. Should be able to finish him off quickly, and now everybody can focus in on Italiano Gangster. But he is pretty fast here. He's just going to kind of scoot his way on out of that fight. So 2 for 1 if you're SG, but the one was Yuma. So teamfight recap shows at least gold-wise it's pretty even.
Yeah, DP's just such a fast hero. You just get to walk away from a lot of the situations. I feel like Yuma also probably could have TP'd out, but just stuck around a little bit too long and then stuck around after his flesh shape was already popped, but not the biggest mistake in the world here, even though they have swapped their lanes up. So now they've brought all of the supports back top where you kind of had to TP onto Yuma to find any farm, but in doing so, then you start stepping on KXY's toes a little bit, and even though Oscar is still very, very farmed on the Timber Saw, it's where Yuma now has to kind of work a little harder for his farm.
Yeah, just the forcing play there, just messing up their overall coordination just a little bit, but they should be able to stabilize. It's just you have to make some moves that you maybe weren't anticipating. In the meantime, Oscar, he is going for that Eul Scepter ET. Much needed sort of shift in the itemization considering what you're going up against, but right now the focus needs to be on the fight mid. Oscar's going to Timber Chain his way forward. Yaren, little too far forward, just maybe 1 or 2 seconds too early. The rest of the lineup wasn't in position. There's going to be the Sharpshooter coming in to set it up. Oscar cleans up and okay, they won't chase any further. They'd rather take the tower, probably the smarter choice. Gotta wait out the glyph, but they're still going to get this.
Yeah, and extremely well-timed aggression. They had the cart helping them out as well there, and you see everybody else on the SG lineup making their way towards Italiano Gangster now, and there's a lot of trees cut here, and look at that. They're curving around to the right side, and with the TA coming in,
oh man,
Italiano.
I mean, there's like 2 trees left in this entire section, and you somehow managed to stand next to one for the bushwhack to hit. That's just kind of that's kind of the way that your luck would go, right? You're already down early on in this game, and you just kind of get a bit too far forward. 11 kills in 11 minutes for SG, and what's the response from DogChamp? They are going to try for the smoke play. Yuma's right in front of them, so this could be a solid pickup if they can find it. There's the onslaught to start. Does he have 6? He does, so the pulverize could be deployed, but look at these TPs coming in. Even if Yuma goes down, this is going to be a pretty solid response as the bushwhack connects onto 2. Prada just channels his ult in everyone's face. Oh my goodness. He picks up a double kill. Oscar gets the 3rd. They didn't have any lockdown left after using it on the Pudge, and that is the dream scenario for the Crystal Maiden.
Yeah, and the only reason they go for that smoke play is because they think that Yuma is alone, that they think that they can't TP because they just killed a bottom, but in actuality, they only TP'd the Templar Assassin. Everybody else walked, so then they just get super duper hard punished, and, well, at least on the other sides of the map, I think Italiano should be able to get this tower without committing his exorcism, so now he's the one who is actually safe. It's not the top area, but yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Can he time it up? Yes, he can. Okay. So the tower does go down. There's your silver lining for the DogChamp side, but I don't know. Map control feels like it is going to be sort of pivotal over the next 10 minutes or so, because they've only taken 1 tower so far, but the tier 1 top is going to be falling. That opens up this north side jungle pretty significantly, and already you see Prada and LTH they're just casually hanging out in it. This is their opponent's jungle, but they don't feel threatened, and they're kind of right to not feel threatened. No one's even come up there in quite some time.
You know, they've got the high ground ward. Might as well get a few creeps while we're still here, but it's also where Deso is now flying out with a bottled DD rune on KXY. His TA is just absolutely massive. This is 13-minute treads Dragonlance Deso. This is an absurd timing, and he just forces Roche now. And if you aren't careful here, you have to bring everything. This is an all-hands-on-deck situation here. You might need the Timbersaw to come in and tank for you a bit, and with the Yules build, although it's great anti-Ursa tech, you can still die. This is no Hood, this is no Sanj and Yasha, but with 3 melds in the DD rune, well, there's your first Roche.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, KXY is perfect right now.
Just melting their way through it. Oscar, yeah, did have to take a little bit of damage there, but he should be fine. And now, if you're DogChamp, how do you want to play this? This is a TA with, as you said, an incredible amount of items in this early stage and 2 lives to work with. At least you won't have double damage rune by the time any sort of fight breaks out. That is fading away as we speak, but you were already struggling to find your initiation into these fights. Now you're going to have to kill off a TA twice. This may just be time, ET, for them to maybe sort of duck their heads down and try to wait this out.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little bit difficult because SG, they're looking to kill you. They're looking to take over and hold a large portion of the map. And you are semi-okay with this. You have a Battle Fury on Ursa. You've got a Midas on the Invoker. You are set up to farm just a little bit. The only one who hasn't really been able to make the adjustment is Italiano Gangster, who is still rushing a BKB, which should hopefully sync in line with some other item timing. But look mid,
Okay.
Chain Frost.
Yuma does end up popping that Flesh Sheath. That gives him a little bit of extra reduction, but it's not going to be enough. And the Chain Frost actually bounced onto Prada twice, so extra damage there. He's going to channel out the Freezing Field, but it's not enough to really do too much, but it does buy time for KXY to join the fight. They take down B9, but they need to be able to catch up to Stonebank. Can they do so? The meld hit isn't enough for the kill, and now they're stuck in the river. This is a massive opportunity. As you said, LTH gets taken down. KXY, this is not how you want to use your Aegis. He is trying to find some sort of kill, anyone at all, but he doesn't actually have the side blade bounce. And now, I mean, can they actually kill him a second time? There's going to be the onslaught. He's still stuck in the ice wall, ET, so he's not going anywhere. An absolute coup for DogChamp. That's not supposed to be possible at this point, but they make it happen.
No, that's perfectly executed. And again, they walk to the low ground with the rest of the supports just not TPing up, and it feels really peculiar. It feels odd. Everything that SG was kind of building up to this point gets thrown by the wayside, and now you get to retreat to your side of the map. You don't have Exo, you don't have any of your abilities, but you didn't lose anyone. That was just a perfectly executed team fight.
Uh-oh. Well, Yarn, yeah, okay. He is going to get punished a little bit here. Rise. Yeah. He's trying to make something happen, but Yarn going down is not going to hurt you too much considering how much the cores picked up in that last team fight. And, well, as I was saying before, you know, maybe they have to duck out this Aegis, but now there is no Aegis, although RCY still can't do this. Yeah, that's a little too far forward without much vision to work with as he does get picked off. And for the Invoker, he's still not quite where you would like him to be, right? This Midas is nice. It's keeping him up there. And after the fight, he is at least ahead of Yuma. But want a little bit more from his item progression as bottom lane. What is this? That's the jump onto Oscar. Okay. He's got the Yules, but you can only Yules one.
Yeah, and now BKB finished up on the Death Prophet, and yeah, this Lich hero, I'm hyping it up for a reason. It just does so much magic damage if you aren't careful. And again, this isn't the tanky build. It's great anti-Ursa tech, but the rest of the lineup, the magic damage just gets to you anyway. So I think they got to be really cautious here on SG, because even though it's 17-9, they are in a much worse position. Mid, though,
Okay,
yeah. Yarn likes to die every once in a while, but, you know, at the same time, Stonebank is actually catching up on this TA.
Yeah, that's the kind of maybe most important aspect of all of this. That TA looked untouchable through the first 10 to 12 minutes, and it's still a lead, but that the Ursa could potentially close. As LTH tries to make a move, and there's KXY with the meld hit to just kind of blow up B9. So no matter what, doesn't matter if they sort of dropped a team fight or two, doesn't matter that the Ursa's farming, that play right there, that's going to be there pretty much all game long.
Yeah, and you do have to be cautious about, I think, veering towards these wards. It's the second mistake that I think DogChamp have made, but that's where, as long as the cores are doing all right, it feels like they're going to go for a smoke up here.
It's got it.
Stonebank doesn't have the BKB yet. I think they're just waiting for B9, honestly.
Yeah.
even though it's smoke. It's funny because TA is right here, and that was just Spidey senses. He actually has no real idea of what's going on, but you need to do this. Otherwise, you do just start walking over those TA traps, and without a sentry, they don't know about the ward on the cliff, so 1 kill, but just a hood rat. I don't think that's satisfying enough here for DogChamp.
Yeah, that's not what you were hoping to put a 5-man smoke together for, but they find something, and I think now maybe they do suspect that there's a little bit of vision perhaps in that area. So they're going to clear that out. Italiano Gangster's going to try to push onto the tower, get some damage onto the tier 1. Forge Spirit's coming in. Yarn says, no, let's fight. Screw the tower, but that may not have been the best of ideas. He's going to get rooted, he's going to get taken down, and now the push is dead. Italiano Gangster might be dead as well, but no, they're actually going to push in. Look at that damage, Jesus. B9. It's the same combo. Chain Frost into Sinister Gaze keeps him locked in, and now Yuma, I don't think he wanted to be in this fight, but he doesn't really have a choice. He has to try and go for Stonebank, but he's not going to win that engagement. All of a sudden, SG, they're just kind of falling apart a little bit. Some rough decisions that they're making in these fights, and pulling up the recap, what was the damage from the Lich? Just shy of 1,400.
Yep. Gotta love the hero. Gotta love what he's actually doing. And that was just a really nice timing. It's before your TA has the BKB. It's before SG can pause the game and kind of get ready for that fight. But also super important that Stonebank just throws his body in there and makes space for Italiano Gangster to not get taken down. And now, again, you get to reset. You get to chill on your side. Every single time DogChamp are sticking their necks out there, they're getting a successful play. It's so important with the Death Prophet to keep her relevant. And Italiano Gangster is extremely relevant. He has quite a few items in queue here. He's finally going for the Shard build. The build that no other Death Prophet has really gone for or looked at. It's made me so sad in this tournament, but he's looking for that item that's just really going to be kind of a game changer here. I think just giving a little bit more disabled. Not to mention, 2 heroes feared away, get Chain Frosted. Yeah, just works. And I think B9 as well just picked up his Shard, so it's going to be quite nice.
It's got the Shard, so the Spire is there, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, as you say, we don't see a lot of Death Prophets go for the Shard. Why exactly do you think that is? Because just on paper, looking at it, it seems so strong, but a lot of players just tend to kind of avoid it completely.
I think it's for seemingly the same reason why people don't go the TA Shard, even though that Shard is also broken. You just have other items. You've got bigger items. An Ag Shard could be a Blink Dagger, it could be a Plate Mail, it could be a whole bunch of things that could also have just as much impact. And hey, look at that. It's not an Ag Shard yet, because he's got it in queue, but it is a Plate Mail. Though Yuma, okay.
Oh, he was just
heard the eat, but just farming.
Always interesting to see that. I mean, it is pretty useful, just using it to sort of keep your farming rhythm, but it's so loud, you hear it everywhere. No play. LTH, though, was sort of looking around. Now he's just kind of standing there, but this is something I think they need to focus on a little bit more. I mean, you've got the Hoodwink. It's such a mobile character, such a hero that can give you this vision and this intelligence, but they're not really using him that way. LTH has been kind of more of an assassin than a scout at this point in the game, but there haven't been a lot of assassination opportunities in these last few fights as DogChamp have started fighting their way back in, so I don't know. Maybe that needs to change. Maybe LTH should be focused a little bit less on pickoffs and more on just trying to get information for the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, and even though I think it feels better in mid.
Oh boy.
Yeah, good hook out. Good hook out. But in the same vein to a lot of the 5-man Midas drafts, you have this aggressive 4 position, but you have an offlaner that's farming, and then you also have a mid that's farming. And I think that's where you are starting to find a few issues with how SG want to kind of steer the rest of this game. And thankfully for them, this is a very early Roche, as it has been all week. So early, though, that Yuma doesn't have his BKB, and smoke on smoke is breaking.
AXY blinks away in time. Yuma's getting just beat down. Stonebank is pushing his way in. There's going to be Yuma dead. Prada, not really the target that they want. They're trying to ignore him, but I don't think they can catch anyone else, so they are going to give it a go. Tornado misses, though, but they do still get the pulverize. Yarn may sacrifice his life for this, but that gets Stonebank in. There's the Chain Frost to follow. It's bouncing between creeps a lot, though. But at the end of the day, they might still be able to do this. Stonebank, though, needs to stay alive. Can he survive it? Yes, he can. No, he can't. KXY goes back in. He will get the kill. But now he's kind of in the middle of all of this. He needs teammates to help him out. That was a nice bushwhack initially. It's just not going to be enough. KXY still falls. And at that point, well, I was going to say maybe KXY could have just backed off, but really, you didn't need that Ursa kill. It cost him his life, though, and as you can see from the recap, they just sacrificed a little too much to make that happen.
Yeah, and funnily enough, and even though I think the dieback and getting the buyback out of the CM is fairly important, without the TA or the Ursa surviving the fight, nothing really changes. Nothing really matters. And in fact, with the Ursa going down, this now probably buys enough time for Yuma to finish his BKB. So that same initiation can't happen, where Yuma could probably survive for a lot longer than what actually ended up going down. But that's where you're also coming up against, I think, 3 other BKBs that are getting finished on DogChamp by the time we get this next Roche contest coming forward. So the team fight is only just starting.
LTH missing with another bushwhack, so accuracy there's been a little bit awkward. Oscar was coming in. They waited a long time for Oscar to move into position to try and get that gank on the DP, but without the initial lockdown, there's really nothing they can do. But now they need to make sure Oscar doesn't stick around too long. He's already starting to fall back a little bit here, and well, everybody's going to start eyeing up Roche. Second Roche, free shard available to whoever can take it. But who's the more confident squad here, ET, in terms of their ability to actually control the pit? Because everyone's up. Almost all the ults are available. BKB now on Yuma, so who really has the edge in terms of trying to take this control?
I feel like, at least for me, a lot of it is now up to DogChamp. The one thing they have to be careful of is KXY just killing off one of the supports with BKBs. Like, I think Yaren and KXY, or Yaren and RCY can die super quickly to the TA still, but
oh whoa. That is a hell of a jump in there as they blow up B9 and, well,
into the ward.
Stonebank's going to try and turn this around. They are in onto Yuma. It's a nice bit of early damage. Yuma is going to get taken out. Prada should be falling as well. And KXY, he's not really in a position to do much damage. He is trying to sort of attack walk his way out of this, but I think he should really just be focused on a full-on retreat at the moment, and that's exactly what he's going to do. But Yaren, did he just curved that. Okay. Gets himself onto the Timber Saw. The Yule Scepter has to be used defensively. KXY firing from the low ground, trying to get his teammate out of there. They will be successful as the fight resets, but it still resets into a 5v3 if you're looking at it from the DogChamp perspective.
Yeah, and they've got to get this D ward, even though I think they're going to go instead towards that low ground. But all this tension, and Yaren, yeah, going to get picked off, and they'd love to punish KXY's Blink Dagger, but they just don't have as quick a response as I think they'd like. Now, is this enough for the tier to start Roche? For sure. Can she finish it off? It's going to be a little bit scary, and they know what's going on here. It's where Tornado becomes her invaluable skill here, not to mention looking for the jump. Look at B9.
Did get the Tornado EMP, but yeah, the rest of the lineup on SG went straight for B9, who buys back, though. He's going to try and TP his way into this. No, he's not, because his TP is not available. So he has to walk, which provides a big opening. SG are going to try and take control of the area. It's not enough time to finish Roche. They are going to be able to whittle it low. DogChamp have a decision to make. Do we try to go back in? Do we just back off and let them have it?
Yeah, they decide to walk away.
Okay.
As soon as Stonebank decided there, and Stonebank could have maybe attempted it. They all have their BKBs back up just now, but I think it's also very smart, knowing how weak they are without Exorcism. It would be a little bit of a throw there to keep on throwing themselves at it, but at the same time, I don't think they're necessarily unhappy with that exchange. They still kill Yuma again, and Yuma actually is the one that ends up taking the Aegis, I think, because he is the one that dies pretty darn quick, but at the same time, getting that Aegis is just important. Now the map can really start to slow down yet again here, and if DogChamp want that, they can just play for that. They can just play to really grind everything to a halt while they finish up a lot more of these items.
Time checking on RCY's item build. Got himself the Aghanim's Shard there, so he's got the upgraded Meteor. A lot more just sort of area denial with the triple Meteors as Yaren. That's a very bold move on his part, and he may end up paying for it, but here comes the Chain Frost. Can it bounce well enough? No, not really. Yuma had BKB up for most of that, so not a significant amount of damage. The Spire gets taken down. It's only worth 20 gold, but it's a matter of principle, taking that down.
Yeah, and Yarn in, I think, typical Yarn Primal Beast fashion is just a little bit overextended pretty much the entire game. He's kind of putting himself out there at risk quite frequently, but hopefully he gets that shard soon and then he can feel a little bit more reliable when it comes to his disables. But SG, they're aggressing. They've got the Chrysalis now finished up on the TA. A lot more damage that KXY can now play around with, but this is where DogChamp, they do have to be careful. You have to wonder, of course, once Yarn's alive, they cannot go high ground. They have to look for a play elsewhere, but that's where you might get pushed back into your base. You do
Yaren?
have Lich.
It,
Okay.
LTH sees this, or maybe he didn't actually. Hold on. I think that the tree might have actually obscured that vision on both sides, so maybe they don't know Yarn's here. The problem is, does that matter? It does if Yarn's going to go in. BKB activated, Pulverize is there. It's going to glitch out again as the TA is suddenly over on the other side, but the damage was still done. It's just not enough. KXY pops his own BKB. And, okay, we all just walk away. BKB's popped, Exorcism used. But who cares? Nothing really happened there. That was a weird one.
Yeah, but the retreat, you committed Exo. You're losing Exo in 10 seconds here, and got to be very careful in case you get hooked back, but SG's not going anywhere. They got your glyph as well. They can now mop up a lot of these tier 2 towers, and I don't think they are going anywhere. They know that DogChamp are the ones that have to pretty much concede the next few minutes.
Setting up some high ground Tinker style wards here, just in case that happens again, and that does kind of make it a little bit more obvious that they didn't actually see Yarn on that TP before, but, well, it didn't really hurt them much. They had to use some BKBs, sure, but they pulled back, they regrouped, they take the tower anyway. Now they're pushing the high ground. What can DogChamp do? They get the Frost Shield down onto the tower. That is definitely helpful, but is it enough? Oh, that's awkward. He tries to go in for the Pulverize, but he actually, or not the Pulverize, rather, it's Stonebank who jumped in, but the hook pulls him away first. They do still get KXY, though, and now Yuma, well, he loses his first life. There's really no backup. Look at the supports. They're getting pushed away. Prada is going to be going down here, presumably, but they really need to kill Yuma a second time, and they do get him just before his TP finishes. While Prada channeled his ult in the tree line. He had his TP up, thought maybe he would take a chance on the TP away, but just opts for the damage instead. Doesn't work out, and DogChamp, 3 kills, Aegis burned, tier 3 towers still standing. That's really the best possible defense of their high ground they could have had.
Yeah, they really kind of soured their own push there, and big mistake from KXY just getting anywhere near the high ground without his BKB. Thought he was pressing the issue, but then you realize that Stonebank committed pretty much nothing for that bottom fight. It was all pretty much Italiano Gangster and Yarn just doing wild stuff, which meant that the Ursa had much more to give. And sure, DogChamp, they aren't the fastest pushers without Exorcism, but should be able to get maybe a little bit of chip damage here. But taking the Aegis out of Yuma's hands, Yuma is just unable to play Dota versus the Ursa. It just feels like this is ending up being too much of a problem, and Stonebank's getting maybe a little bit too much farm here. And looking over at his items, probably going to have a full Satanic, really, before not, and then suddenly, how are we actually fighting this Ursa? He's kind of getting too big for us to handle, not to mention level 21 after that team fight. Gonna be level 25 soon, and then he's just gonna kill anyone.
Yeah, the options are gonna get a little bit rough. The lockdown isn't gonna be as effective with Enrage. Their damage is going to sort of be counterable with his lifesteal, so I don't know. The means of killing him off kind of dwindle. As speaking of struggling to kill people off, Italiano Gangster was getting hit up in the river there, but just kind of walks away as well. He's got the slow and the armor from the Shivas, so this is, I think, the second or third time now taking a look at the net worth and experience where, you know, SG pull away and then they don't maintain it. They just let their opponents kind of back in. You can see the roller coaster that's developing there, and in terms of the win probability, it actually has swung back over to the DogChamp side as they push mid, and they get KXY, the single most valuable kill they could have found there. He's dead for 80 seconds without money for buyback, and Italiano Gangster just is continuing to push. Can he actually catch anyone, though? Not really. Oh, fuck. Pulls Yarn in, and I don't know about this, guys. It was a nice kill onto KXY, but maybe we pump the brakes a little bit here, yeah?
Yeah, nice kill, but it doesn't get onto the buildings immediately. I understand that they want to press the issue, but it definitely looks a little bit funny. And I think now they're actually just out. They just have to be satisfied with that. But they got him with the BKB usage as well. And I think that's now a 6 second on the TA. So SG, again, kind of need that next Aegis to make a team fight happen. Otherwise, you just don't have enough life on either your Pudge or your TA yet. What a scan.
What do you think about this, though? Smoke up with Yuma and the two supports without the TA's damage. There's really only so many heroes I feel they could hit up in this situation. Stonebank might not be one of them.
He's going to blink back. Oh, the knows now. Oh, he didn't react, though.
Oh, hold up. Oh, still no BKB, still no Enrage. Okay, well, I mean... what I was saying before with him maybe not being able to kill him was dependent on him using any items or abilities, but if they can shut him down before that, more power to them. They find the kill. Now they're back onto this push, and here's where they just need to avoid that mistake that they made last time, right? It's a massive swing in terms of the net worth off of one or two missteps, but the push is still here. They just need to be more careful.
You know, and they got greedy, I think there is probably the correct word with Stonebank, just kind of not knowing what was going on either. In kind of a bit of a shock whenever you're a carry player and you're just like, oh, I'm getting 4-man smoke ganked. Oh, I'm dead. You know, mental reset though, in very similar fashion to KXY's death. It doesn't result in any buildings. It doesn't result in any structures getting taken down. Just more farm time for your opponents. And unfortunately, he doesn't have time now to finish up that Satanic before what could be their next smoke into the nighttime. But that's where, let's see, 3 seconds on the Roche respawn, and then we'll know how kind or how cranky he is. And middle of the path Roche respawn timer.
In the meantime, we were talking about Oscar on this Timbersaw going for the sort of anti-Ursa strats with the Yule Scepter. He has really leaned into that. You take a look at his itemization, it's the Yules, it's the Halberd, it's now a Hex on top of it, so, you know, it doesn't really do much for him in terms of his own tankiness or damage for that matter, but if you can take the Ursa out of this fight long term, or honestly with the Hex, even shut down someone like the Invoker, then you still kind of have done your job.
Oh, for sure, and okay. Scouting out that Roche. Just checking on that minute timer. I'll probably send another Sunstrike in another minute, as they should.
TH is looking. It's hiding in the trees. Meanwhile, there's a very annoying Forged Spirit that's doing a little bit of scouting here. So, DogChamp do know that there are some heroes in this area. The question is, do they want to avoid it or do they want to fight into it? Because they're maneuvering in a position that kind of makes me think that they want the fight. There it is. Italiano Gangster just blinks straight in, but well, that really wasn't enough to start much of an engagement here. There's not a lot going down. I think they catch out Prada. Yeah. But, 5-man initiation and Exo for Prada, not what you wanted. They're too early for Roche, too. Italiano Gangster blinked in, but still about 40 seconds away, so just a bit of a bummer. That's Exo used, and oh, hold on. They're going to try and turn around. They did get the Hex down, but Yarn is able to respond with the Pulverize, but can Stonebank live? He does need to activate the Satanic. He's going to be able to do so, and now he's just healing up. And I don't think SG Esports want to be here anymore, but they don't really have much of a choice. They have to try and fight their way through it, but it's not a fight that they're going to win. Oscar and Yuma both dead. KXY, though, trying for something. Wasn't able to find anyone, and now Stonebank is feeling pretty confident, but ooh, maybe a little overconfident. He does back off. B9. He wants something. They're gonna spot it out. They get Prada with that Sinister Gaze. They're not really focusing him down though. Instead, RCY tried to make a play onto the TA, but really able to make that happen. Stonebank though did not give up on the Crystal Maiden kill. Blinks in, gets the hit, finds the kill, and DogChamp eventually finish off that fight. 4 kills in total, half of them onto the Crystal Maiden, but lets them control the Roche pit now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they don't have an actual trap in here. If they did, then they would absolutely know, but they're in the dark. Don't think they could have defended it in the first place. There's a few too many heroes dead, but, oh, you got the first Roche, you got the second Roche. Italian Gangster, oh, he's just trying to make space for his team, and it's working. And now KXY, well, you've got Blink Dagger. You should be able to escape still, but that will be the Aegis easily going into the hands of Stonebank, along with that Refresher Shard.
Keeps the Aegis for himself, pass the cheese to Italiano Gangster, gonna hit him up with the Shard too, so... Oh, they got double Exo, double BKB, double Shiva's guard, double blink, really just everything. Italiano Gangster is just turning himself into the initiator, which is not really the way that you normally look at this. But hey, apparently blink Shiva's is enough when your opponents don't really have the greatest in terms of defensive capabilities.
Yeah, and it's not bad to just be on top of these supports either, on both the CM and the Hoodwink. It's a situation where that silence is still just absolutely crippling. And now, well, damage onto tier 2. Again, not the fastest push in the world, where SG still kind of trump you there with the Deso, but at the same time, it's going to be a very long fight. They want to kill basically anybody but Stonebank first. And here they go.
Well,
They get first life, it's good, but now they're in.
that's a problem. Italiano Gangster is doing the work. Stonebank had time to activate the Satanic, realizing I don't have to wait for the Aegis to pop because I can just not die in the first place. As Oscar gets taken down, Yuma tried to hook him away, but he dies in transit. The tier 2 tower falls as well. Now the high ground attempt is coming through. Yaren just goes straight in. So does Italiano Gangster. They're not really doing the damage that they thought they would, though. And Yuma, that's a nifty hook. Pulls Yaren to his death. Not the highest value hero, but they punish that move in, right? 2 heroes blink forward without the backup that they needed. Esports are able to... I was going to say hold. That wasn't even really a push onto the high ground. Just kind of a weird overextension, but their base is still okay, right? Tier 3 towers weren't taken, so they have something to fall back on.
Yeah, they kind of just get that reset, and unfortunately for Italiano, in a fit of needing his next BKB, but also feeling like that fight was going to continue, he popped the Refresher Shard. So there you go. That's another thing just absolutely gone now that they don't have to play with. So is the cheese, but mildly unfortunate, especially for the Death Prophet. But yeah, now see how this game it starts to shape up. It looks like DogChamp just want to get some more of these tier 2 towers. There's still a glyph on the line for SG, but you can't really afford to glyph the outer tier 2s anymore. You need to save that for your high ground defense instead. So looks like the game it should get rolling here, but at the same time, big items are getting finished up. Stonebank's got the Tome coming out on Courier as well, so he should hit 25, have even more overpower attacks. Really dumb talent. You could pretty much just straight up kill any support, 100-0 there, or even just getting the stacks already started on the Pudge, because Yuma still cannot survive in these fights. Even though there's 2 halberds, even though they're trying to cut the Ursa as much as they can, the matchup is just not something you can actually win here. And at the same time, RCY as well is also looking at a refresher on top of the Hex that he already has that has been blowing open these team fights. But okay.
Oh my god, they just blow through the Aegis. Okay. Impressive stuff. Can they do it again? They could have tried if the hook had connected, but it's going to hit a creep instead. But even so, ET, Aegis gone, and I mean, what did they have to commit, right? KXY just kind of popped a meld and was refraction, and that was really it.
Yeah, and that's your nullifier reveal, so gotta be very careful here. Unless you want to pop your BKB, it's where that nullifier can take off those overpower stacks that make it impossible for you to continue. But also, the Hex on the Timbersaw, which is now going to be something you have to be incredibly scared of. He can get you before you react again. Now you have just a point-blank stun. That could be your Hex into Bushwhack, into just simply dying, where you can actually just get nothing off, which is a very scary, realistic thing that could happen in this game. It's also where I think SG, if there was ever a chance to smoke, it'd probably be right now, just because it's still daytime. There's no threat of Roche if you do just want to throw yourselves into the fray, but maybe they wait for maybe a few more items onto Yuma before they make anything too substantial. Because right now they are still playing with only a portion of the map. They're pretty afraid of what could be DogChamp's vision. That's why they're circling in bottom, even though DogChamp have no wards there.
Where is this smoke going? They popped it, and then they kind of realized they didn't have a set path, so they do burn through a couple of seconds on the start, but they might not even go anywhere. This might just be maybe try to bait Stonebank and yeah, see who comes forward to fight him. KXY, though, he's not going to take that bait. Got to assume something's going on here. Stonebank is showing aggressively when you have no vision of everyone else, but he goes in anyway. There's the Abyssal into the Pulverize, and that's it. KXY's dead. He doesn't have money for buyback. He spent all of his money getting that Nullifier. And there really isn't much of a fight to be had here. Yuma's going to get picked off as well. Prada falls all the way back on the steps of the base. And, well, ET, what can they do here? Yumo just bought back, but without KXY, there's just not enough damage to really get through the whole of DogChamp.
Nope. All they can really do is just try to get him underneath the tier 4s, and, well, it's a big fish you just hooked in there, but with the Exorcism Spirits coming back right now, all that would have just been damage healed up anyway, but they're gonna make him work for this push, and it's mildly annoying, but okay, they'll just kill you instead, and there you go. I think that's just gonna be a dieback on the Ursa and probably the game.
Yuma's dead. Oscar. Oh, look at that. It's bouncing between him and the Spire. B9 able to set up for that kill. LTH is running. Don't know if he's making it. Yeah, no, he's not making it at all. Oscar does buy back, though. He's trying to get some sort of kill onto B9, but at this point, even if they get it, which they won't because he TP's out, I don't think it's enough to matter. DogChamp just ignore the racks and go in for the tier 4s. They're trying to end the game here and now. Yarn, though, Yarn is still playing pretty far forward. He just doesn't really care at this stage as he pushes his way in. Prada, force step back into the fountain. They get the root onto Yarn. He'll activate his BKB, though, into the Pulverize. And all the while, his teammates are actually hitting the Ancient, trying to end the game. So they should be able to finish this one off. And yeah, game 1 goes to DogChamp.
Yeah, and I think really quite the upset here. I feel like a lot of people would have been looking at SG, and of course, coming into the server, knowing that they've got that stand-in situation, knowing that they do have to maybe learn a little bit more about their players here, though. I think DogChamp just had an astounding victory. I think their draft was very solid. I think even though we did get to see that swap up and KXY was clearly owning that mid lane for the longest time here, they just run out of gas. And I think really you first phase Ursa, you first phase Timbersaw, this Ursa just didn't feel countered. It didn't feel like the Pudge, the TA, even the Hoodwink were able to answer it. It just ended up being a situation where Stonebank Ursa, and he doesn't care. He just moves past you and then ends up killing you instead. I don't know. It just ended up in this weird situation where first phase Ursa just works, which, again, feels illegal.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be that easy of just, hey, we took this Ursa in phase 1 and you never got around to really countering it, but is what kind of happens. And you would look at the stat lines and you wouldn't really think that that was the case. 5-3 and 16 is impressive, but it's very clearly not the highest on the team. But Stonebank didn't necessarily need to be the one getting the kills. Take a look at the actual hero damage that he dealt, and it was just a little bit shy of what Italiano Gangster had on the Death Prophet. So he was hitting the targets he needed to and never really getting punished for it.
Yeah, and that's also where I think Italiano Gangster, 100% MVP of the game, just held down the fort. He won, I want to say, won his lane versus Yuma, even though Yuma got, I think, 4 kills by the end of that laning stage, but was just super useful, kept his nose down, never really lost his lead, even though he's got 2 deaths to his name, did not die at all in the mid game, and he's the one that ended up having the crazy play that ended up not only killing KXY in his first Aegis, but then turning everything on its head. I feel like after that first Aegis got spent, and that's something that we see from a lot of these teams with heroes like the Ursa and the TA, you get that first Aegis so quickly, you even get that second Aegis so quickly, but if you don't keep that Aegis until it pretty much expires, well, you just end up with so much downtime where if your opponents are happy to farm, they're happy to farm. And that's what DogChamp were always going to be set up to do with this Midas on Invoker, and then it just works out. Easy game.
Yeah, we go when we want to go and we wait when we don't want to go. So it all just kind of falls apart for the SG side, but feels like they still have some stuff to at least take and carry with them into game 2, right? It wasn't all bad. They had some good performances, just weren't able to pull it out in total by the end of it. But first game does go to DogChamp, so they've now won, I think, 3 in a row for counting yesterday's match. Well, looking to make it 4 straight here and get a 2-0 sweep at SG's expense. So we're going to be moving into that second game in just a little